Here on the Robert Elms Show on BBC London 94.9 FM. And we've got some queries lined up. You never let me down, you lot, which is absolutely fantastic, because Wednesday wouldn't be Wednesday without you. Where would we be without our queries and our questions? Now we've got a query which has actually got a piece of music to accompany it. And it comes from Peter in Ealing. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Robert.
Now, I'm so glad you sent me this, because I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Oh, lovely.
So fill us in a little bit on the background.
Well, my mother was a pianist and an amateur songwriter, and at some point in the early 50s, she went into Selfridges in Oxford Street, who at the time had got a recording booth. Now, the booth was there for members of the public to go in, and for a fee, you could record a greeting, or in my mother's case, she went in, and because there must have been a piano there, she recorded some of her own songs. And at the end of the recording, apparently they gave you a 78 RPM acetate disc to take away with you. Right. And recently, I came across a couple of these discs in my mother's effects and played it back. And there was this song, which, I mean, she'd written quite a lot of songs, and we'd grown up with these songs, listening to them, and it was really good to see them on this disc, which has the Selfridges label on it.
So I'm going to play a piece of the music, because you've actually sent me a CD of it.
Yes.
So what we're going to hear is your mother, Irene Brodie.
That's right. Singing
a song that she's written and performed in a Selfridges recording booth. Yes. So you stay where you are, Peter.
Okay.
And I'll just play I'll probably only play a minute or so of this.
Now about the lights of London town. Sing about the romance of the good old Riders' but now about our good old London town. Hear about these places, and though we admit they're great, there's Copenhagen and there's County Down. But how about a big cheer for the place that beats the band? Let's cheer for lovely, good old London town. Let's all sing of London one third day. Of the boys who wheel their barrows down the lane, and the flower girls who sell their violets around Piccadilly. These are the folks who make the cups of a wonderful city.
Isn't that fantastic? So that's your mum, Peter?
Yes, well, I'm glad you liked it, Robert.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's wonderful. And she wrote that song as well.
She wrote that song, yes. It was, I think, the one, of all the songs that she wrote, I think that was the one that she liked the best. Although she wrote quite a lot of romantic ballads and that kind of thing, all in the style around the 1940s.
Right. And she recorded this at Selfridges booth.
Yes. Now, my research shows that this booth goes back maybe even to when the store opened 100 or so years ago, when it was called the Recordervox booth. And so it was still, whenever it was opened, it was still there in the 1950s, obviously, which is when I know she recorded it there. But I'm pretty sure it must have been closed down sometime soon after, because I don't remember ever seeing it there in the 60s.
No, I don't, because we used to go there, I mean, only at Christmas and stuff, but I have no... So basically what we'd like to know is sort of the history, really, of the Selfridges, what was it called again, booth?
Well, originally it was called the Recordervox booth.
Right.
I don't know whether they kept that name throughout. I'd love to know if anybody else ever recorded there.
And you still got the actual records?
I've got the record. What we did was, I transcribed it onto my computer so I would have a digital copy, and then while my mother was still alive, she unfortunately died last year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I actually framed the disc and put it on her wall.
Oh, and she lived to a good old age,
She lived till 95, yeah.
Wow. And that would have been her in what? In her 40s, 50s?
Maybe well, she must have written this song in maybe her late 30s or so.
So basically, we'd like to know anything more that we can find out about the recording booth at Selfridges. As you say, it must have had a piano in it, because there's definitely piano on there.
That's right. She recorded, in fact, I've got, I think, 2 discs. She liked to play and sing operetta.
Because I know that there were much smaller booths sometimes at train stations where you could literally just sit in there and kind of sing or talk.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't have, any kind of musical instruments in there or anything. I wonder if this one had like a producer or some sort of technical assistant.
Well, I was only a toddler at the time and obviously wasn't allowed to go with in case I mucked up the recording.
Let's see what more we can find out. What a great query. And I might play a bit more of that song a bit later. And we also need to know about the recording booth in Selfridges with that great bit of music that we heard, composed and sung by one Irene Brodie. And then this piece of music.
To the fair on Elm City, on August Bank Holiday Monday, the copper on his feet, and the cockney that you meet. They're good-hearted pals who never will let you down. God bless them. All of these things make wonderful London town.
I love this.
Sing about
A song called London Town, written and sung by Irene Brodie, who was the mother of one of our listeners.
Sing of many places far away across the sea. The down.
And he knows that she recorded this at Selfridges, basically, in a recording booth or recording studio at Selfridges, sometime probably in the early 50s.
And though we sometimes stray away, hearts with one desire, to come right back to dear old London town.
Can anyone tell us any more about that? Does anyone else have music that was recorded at Selfridges? Does anyone have any records of what went on there? What was the room like? Was there a piano in there? Because there's clearly a piano on this piece of music. Were there other musical instruments? Could you employ musicians? Was there an engineer? What's the story? How much did it cost?
As early kings and queens do go to the fair on Elm City, on August Bank Holiday Monday, the cocker on the beat and the cockney that you meet. Our good-hearted pals who never will let you down. All of these things make wonderful London town.
Brilliant. So if you can tell us any more about the recording studio at Selfridges, I didn't know they had one. I knew there were put money in a slot recording booths, often at train stations. I remember there being one at Waterloo or Victoria. But I didn't know that the one at Selfridges was obviously a grander affair. How did it work? Anything you can tell us about that? We really need some answers. Some great queries, as ever. We need to get some answers on 0207 224 2000. Right then, I played you that bit of music. Here you go, just another little blast. A song written by and sung by, and I presume the piano played by, although I don't know, Irene Brodie. And recorded in the Selfridges recording studio. Let's see if Piers in Beaconsfield can tell us any more about that. Hello, Piers.
Hello, Robert.
Right, and what do you know about this?
Well, I don't know anything about the actual recording studio, but
Right.
As soon as I heard the query, what came to mind was, and this may well ring with other listeners, the first Norman Wisdom film, Trouble in Store,
Right.
which was made in 1953, and as far as I can remember, it's a while since I've seen the film, I've seen it several times, but not recently, was either filmed at Selfridges or based on Selfridges. Now, some of the film was definitely filmed in an actual store, but I couldn't tell you whether for certain it was Selfridges.
Yeah.
But I certainly remember the store being based on Selfridges. So some of it may have been filmed in the store or a store, or indeed in a film studio.
And is there a recording studio?
And there is a scene in the film where he records a song, and I think it's the hit song from the film, which is called Don't Laugh at Me.
Yep, I know that song.
Yeah.
Don't laugh at me because I'm a fool.
I'm pretty sure that was shown in the film as being recorded by him at a recording booth in the store.
Right.
But I